the SUV that carried Charlie to the hospital with his dying last breaths are not in evidence. But God forbid you have a kilo of coke trunk, that car is gone forever. You'll never get that car back. If government actors intentionally released or destroyed the SUV, it is a federal crime. Okay, let's take a look here. So this is Google. I like to use Google AI because it's just a very clean iteration from Google. So if someone had a felony drug charge like kilos of narcotics, would the car it was being carried in be impounded? Yes, if someone is caught with kilograms of narcotics, the car it was being carried in will almost certainly be impounded immediately because kilos of narcs represent a massive quantity indicative of high-level trafficking. Law enforcement treats the vehicle as a key piece of criminal evidence and an instrumentality used to commit a felony. Held as criminal evidence, search and processing, duration of hold can be indefinite. The duration can be indefinite for the time it is in evidence storages, while the criminal investigation and prosecution are active. If someone was shot or got deathly injured and was driven to the hospital in that vehicle, died shortly after they got into the hospital, would that vehicle also be impounded? Yes, the vehicle will be impounded immediately as a major crime scene because a death occurred and the vehicle was used to transport the critically injured person. It becomes a central piece of evidence in a potential homicide, manslaughter, or felonious investigation. Why the vehicle is impounded? Crime scene integrity. The vehicle contains vital physical evidence. Law enforcement must secure it immediately to prevent the contamination, loss, or destruction of evidence. Search warrants. Police will secure the vehicle while they apply for a search warrant to legally process the interior. Legal and investigative requirements for the vehicle. Once impounded, forensic investigators in the legal system require specific procedures. Chain of custody. So I'm reading all this to you, and it's important because I know that we think we know a lot of things, and sometimes we need to read it and find out the information and even go further and look into history and so we really understand like why this stuff is important, because it's actually very important, right? So chain of custody, super important. Law enforcement must document a strict, unbroken chain of the custody from the moment the car is secured at the hospital. So they would secure it at the hospital where it was at to ensure the evidence remains inadmissible in court. And for each one of these, we could go down the list, right? And there's a lot of things I want to go through, but I'm not going to, but just understand, right? Forensic processing technicians will thoroughly process the vehicle for bloodstain pattern analysis, DNA, fingerprints, hair, fibers, and ballistics evidence, such as bullet holes or casings. Well, my, let me ask a question. If someone that was a political activist was murdered at an event speaking, legally, what does the state require of that vehicle? Also feds requirement. What would be the crime if the vehicle was dismissed and never seen again? If a political activist is murdered at a speaking event, both state and federal law mandate that the transport vehicle be permanently seized and forensically processed as a major homicide evidence. Because the victim is a political activist assassinated at a public event, the case crosses multiple legal thresholds, triggering intense dual jurisdiction mandates. If that critical piece of evidence is suddenly dismissed and vanishes entirely from law enforcement custody, it creates a massive legal crisis involving major felony charges. So I wasn't planning to do this. I do this every show. I always say I didn't plan to do this and I end up doing it, but we're going to go through this. Legal requirements of this vehicle, state versus federal. State requirements. Mandatory crime scene seizure. States' homicide detectives are legally required to secure and process the vehicle immediately. You know what immediately means? Does everyone know what that word means? You know what immediately means, right? That means no Frank Turek bag, no necklace, no, I'm going to go in there and tell the cop, I'm keeping this. This is mine. I've got to give it to the widow. So there's none of that. And they obviously took pictures, right? Let me ask you this, actually. The crime scene of the vehicle was photographed and then dismissed. And then the vehicle. See, I say vehicle. So for me, indefinitely it's gone. Okay. What was I saying? For me, when we analyze all of the things that were like, I mean, the first thing, this is so funny. The first thing it says is this, check this out. If a vehicle from a high profile political murder was photographed and then permanently dismissed and vanished, it indicates a severe breach of standard legal and forensic protocols. In a homicide investigation, photographs alone are never legally sufficient to replace the physical vehicle. This specific situation strongly points toward one of three likely scenarios. Number one, intentional cover-up or official corruption, spoliation of evidence. In a politically motivated assassination, a missing vehicle heavily suggests deliberate sabotage of the investigation by inside actors. I'll read it again, big screen. In a politically motivated assassination, a missing vehicle heavily suggests deliberate sabotage of the investigation by inside actors. The motive: photographs only capture what is visible to the naked eye. They cannot reveal microscopic DNA, gunpowder residue, bullet fragments lodged deep in the frame, okay, or digital data from the vehicle's onboard computer. The legal fallout. If government actors intentionally released or destroyed the SUV, it is a federal crime under statute 18 USC 1519, destruction of evidence, and 18 USC 242, deprivation of rights under color of law. This would likely trigger a massive federal civil rights or public corruption investigation into the handling of the case. 2, this is the second option, a catastrophic chain of custody failure. While less sinister, it is possible the vehicle was lost due to gross incompetence, which still carries severe legal penalties. What happens? A communication breakdown between agencies could result in a rogue officer signing a release form, an evidence clerk mislabeling the SUV, or a commercial tow yard mistakenly sending the vehicle to a scrap crusher. If the state's ever, this is the trial impact, if the state ever attempts to prosecute a suspect for the murder, the defense will file a motion regarding spoliation of evidence because the physical car is gone indefinitely, and the defense will argue that vital exculpatory evidence that could be proven that the suspect's innocence has been destroyed. This frequently results in a judge dismissing the murder charges entirely. Well, let's hear this again. So if the physical car is gone, the defense can argue that the vital evidence to prove that the person they're defending, Tyler Robinson, is innocent, since it was destroyed, that is one of the number one things that they could use in order to prove his innocence. Since that is unavailable, frequently results have turned that the judge will completely dismiss murder charges entirely. Now, there's a third option, evidentiary theft by co-conspirators. If law enforcement processed the vehicle superficially and left it unsecured, or if it vanished from a standard impound lot, third parties may have stolen it. That's not what happened. Well, I mean, I think we get the point. So the goal, co-conspirators or the killers themselves, maybe this happened actually. I don't know. Maybe it is. I have no idea, to be honest, what happened. So I shouldn't dismiss it. So it's saying the goal. If the goal was that co-conspirators or the killers themselves may have stolen the vehicle, the SUV, from a low security lot to crush, burn, or bury it, permanently destroying the physical evidence connecting them to the assassination. That would be the goal. And that is a very likely scenario in my mind, actually, now. Apologies for dismissing you, Google AI, Gemini. To pinpoint the legal reality of the situation, please let me know. Did an official release order get signed by a detective? Great question. I'm going to tell you another one. The microphone he was wearing, not in evidence. It went to a glass display case next to the widow at a Mar-a-Lago fundraiser. His phone, not in evidence, returned to the widow. Widow. Oh, I got the deepest widow voice. You don't want to play with this widow voice. His phone, microphone, SUV, his shirt, the white Freedom shirt, the single item that would carry the most forensic information on his body. Nobody can find it. It's not marked in evidence that we know. And it's not in the court filings that we know. Why would that be? The shirt that he died in, that apparently he got shot at in, why wouldn't we have that? Interesting. His shirt, his microphone, his phone, his necklace. This was just a short list that I put together. His necklace. I mean, what else? Frank Turk's backpack? I don't know. Maybe didn't he tell Frank Turk to just throw his backpack in the trash with the clothes? Oh, isn't that what happened? Where can I find that? Can somebody I'm in the Discord. Anybody in the public chat, in the Intel chat. So that's what Club Vatra is. Like, I could literally right here say, yo, if anybody has that clip where Frank Turek said that he told the police officer to just throw that stuff in the trash, I'd like to take a look at that. So please put it in our public Intel chat if you have it. All right. I don't remember where it was. I think it was on Candace recently. Ali, if you have it, if you're still here, that'd be great. You can private DM it to me as well. Up to you. I'm looking in the chat just to see. I'll wait to see if anybody puts it in there.